Hi, and thank you for joining me for today's process video. And today is just an everyday photo of James. I snapped this last week and he was just doing some maintenance on his motorbike, so I wanted to document it. So I've printed it out in 4x6. It's a portrait photo, obviously, and I'm just going to add some mixed media to the background. My thinking on this was that I was going to add circles horizontally across the middle of the page with this green in the background, because you can see his little tool set is green. Everything else in the photo is beige and black, so I've pulled out my scraps of beige and black, and that's what I'm going to work with. So I've mixed mowed lawn with a little bit of pine needles because I felt the mowed lawn was a little bit too bright to match that green. And then I used a mini brayer to brayer that across the centre and up and down a little bit, and then splattered what was left of the ink. And then I'm going to come in with my Tim Holtz watercolour pencils, the black soot one, because I find this gives me the best black splatters. It's quite an intense pigment on these pencils, so it works really nicely. But you could just use a black soot ink pad, water it down slightly and splatter that. So I've used a very small brush just to get little splatters, and I'm going to move that over to dry and map this photo. So first of all, just onto some scrap white cardstock, and then I'm going to go crazy with the layers. It wasn't my intention to do that, and you know how layouts sometimes take on a mind of their own and they certainly go a different direction. That happened with this one, but I'm thrilled with the outcome, so watch how it comes together. So this is my scraps envelope. All of my scraps are in envelopes, and they're colour coded. So this one is my blacks and beiges. I've got one that's got pinks and reds, one that's got yellows or oranges, and one that's got blues and greens, and that covers everything really. I have very, very few purple and lilac, and they just go in this one as well. But honestly, it's not really a colour that I use very often in scrapping. So you can see here, I'm just going through, and any paper that I like the look of to go with this photo, I'm creating small mats to go behind the photo, and each of the mats are smaller than the actual photo itself, so that I'm offsetting as I go and layering up. At this stage, I decided to grab my edge distresser, which is a bit of a joke because you'll see as I go on, I completely forget about that. Just start layering up and adding things. So I end up using my fingernails to distress quite a bit of it, just because I got carried away with layering up before I distressed each layer. So looking through to see what else I can find. I find this tiny little scrap, but that's going to go in the bottom corner. And each scrap guides how the next layer is going to sit on the behind the photo, because I want to make sure that it can be seen behind each layer. So it slowly builds. And this one I've added here, and I don't like the gap between the two, but it's fine because I shall add another paper to bridge that gap. And in fact, looking at the final layout, I do add something else to cover that gap, so I obviously wasn't that happy with it subconsciously, even with this piece of paper on it. So just adding this. I've got some gorgeous scraps in this bin. I hadn't realised just how lovely they were in this envelope, sorry. I do like all these different beiges and browns. Lots of wood grains, and yeah, they work really nicely together. Adore these diagonal black and white stripes, so I had to get some of that in. But when I add that, it sort of changes the feel. Originally I wanted just a few layers behind the photo, really close in and tight, so that the photo didn't become too big, because when you're using a 4x6, it's already quite a big photo on the page. So I didn't want to make the mats too big so that they became half of the page, and that quickly happened. I think adding this stripy piece bang slap in the centre, I was then trying to balance it out. So with a little bit of finagling, I do that, but as a result, the paper layers go quite a bit higher and lower than the photo itself. So So you can see I keep forgetting to distress because I'm just so interested in filling in the next little bit and adding the next little piece. So I wanted to add a piece down at the bottom there, just to fill in that gap. And then another piece just to give a little bit more height, which is crazy. I'm nearly there now with the layers, but you can see it's a great way to use up a lot of paper. I can tell you this photo became rather heavy by the end of all this. So this is where I said I'm just using my fingernails to distress all the edges that I'd forgotten to distress with my edge distresser. And I think I'm just about done with the layers. So I'm bringing in the background paper now. And this is where I realised that I've created too big of a mat behind my photo to have it as I'd originally intended with the horizontal line. So I switch it round and move that mixed media to be a vertical line, sort of spanning the left-hand side of the photo, and I'm much happier with that. So I had this die cut piece. I've got quite a few pieces that I pre-die cut. You can see in the little teal tray to the left of the screen. This is one from a previous layout that didn't make it onto the layout. So I'm just going to use this as a little accent to the right of the photo. I've seen Jessica Michaels doing this a lot with her photos. She adds a little scallop border to one of the long edges on her photos, and it looks so cute. So I thought I'd give it a go with that piece. So these are die cut from scrap black cardstock, and they're using some of the Hey Little Magpie exclusive dies. I've got the fractionated film reel set there, which is 3 different sizes of those circles, and also the smaller of the Viewmaster reel die. I then pulled out 3 of my punches. I've got them in 1 inch, I think they're 1 inch, 1.5 and 2 from memory. And I'm just pulling from those same papers from my scrap envelope to create a few circles. I don't want to go too crazy with the circles because I really like the look of that black on the background. Because it's James, he's maintaining his motorbike, I thought that those circles went really nicely with the wheels on the bike and the chain and things. So that's why I've gone for circles. And I don't want to overwhelm the page too much, as I tend to do. So I'm just going slowly and carefully to do this. So you can see I've taken a lot of the circles off the edge of the page. That one I just punched half a circle and added it. This piece I'm going to add half to the left-hand side and then move the other half over to the right-hand side, or vice versa. And I do that with a few of them, just so that it looks like the pattern continues right off the page. I just love the look of that. So I'm adding this little circle and slowly going around and gluing everything into place. I don't want to add too much glue to the pieces because there's a chance I want to move them, but I'm hoping that this is where they land. So just adding some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to each one. You don't have to add glue to every part, it sticks down nicely once you've got a few dots on it. And the pattern paper pieces that I punched out, I've just added glue to the middle so that there's a little bit of texture on the page, a bit of movement. I've distressed the edges with my fingernails of each of those circles as well. And also making sure that everything's overlapping and touching at some place. So now I'm going to trim off these edges, and I am going to add those pieces onto the page. I hate waste, so if I'm able to use something and it looks good, I will. So that tiny piece is going up there, and then this piece is going to go to the right-hand side. So just wanted one or two more circles, so just found a piece of grey paper and I'm punching a circle with that and adding it. It actually goes down the bottom here. And then these are the free printable labels on Hey Little Magpie. If you want a set, just go and grab it. If you just put labels in, it will probably bring them up for you, and you can just download them and print them at home. So I had the black ones in with my black paper scraps, so I thought that would be perfect to hold my date, and it also covers that little gap that I had that I spoke about earlier. So I'm just going to punch the date on here. Now it's way too long for just the date, so I will find something else to add to the page just to bridge that little gap that I've left on the bottom of this label. So just tucking that under and gluing it in place. And here's what I'm going to use. So these are the You Are My Sunshine stickers from Pretty Little Studio. I've still got them on my desk from when I treated myself last week. So I'm just going to pull out the green stars and add those. There are only 3, but I'm adding those to the page. And then I will come in with some more stickers later. But first of all, I wanted to come back to my James alphabet stamps, which I'm really loving at the moment, the stamps and dies. And I'm using the outline again. I'm just going to stamp out the word bike, and I'm using my black archival ink once again so that it doesn't smudge when I add other things to it. So I'm just stamping these onto white cardstock, leaving plenty of space in between each letter so that I can use the dies to cut it out as one piece when I come to do that. So just adding my ink to the stamps, and you get a lovely crisp image. They're nice and thin, the outlines, and I just adore it. So now that's done, I'm pulling out an All and Create stamp. I just want the texture from the stamp, and this one has like a checkerboard on it. So I'm going to use my Mowed Lawn ink again, and I'm just going to stamp the top half of the letters with this Mowed Lawn. And it looks really effective when this is done. So any textured stamps that you've got, have a look through your stamps and see what you've got. It's great to add that to the top half of the letters or the bottom half. And then you'll see in a minute for the other half of the letters, I'm going to just ink blend with some black soot. I want it to fade into the green, so I'm going heavier at the bottom of the letters and lighter as I go up. And it's much easier to do this when the letters, before you die cut the letters out, basically, while they're still on the background paper. So now I've taken it to my die cutting machine and cut those out. And at first I thought I was going to put the title at the bottom of the photo, but there's that beautiful gap there at the top, so it's going to go up here. And it's going to read bike maintenance. So I'm going to add some foam to each of these letters while it goes up there. I just had to move that star because it would have been in the way. And I'm going to use Fun Foam. It's got adhesive on one side, and I'm just going to cut that into thin strips because it's more malleable when you do that, and you can bend around curves. You'll see in a minute when I do this bee. So I do like using this. It's been ages since I've used it, but I had a little bit of a tidy up on my desk and rediscovered it, so I thought I must get it used up before the adhesive fails. So you can see there, just curling it round, and then I'll add glue onto this side to stick it down onto the layout. And I'm just going to do each letter the same, so I won't make you watch all of that. But here's the I. The I was easy, of course, because just a straight line. And I'm going to bring in my T-square just to make sure that I do get things straight. I'm terrible for sitting back and not going over the layout to have a look and see if it's straight, so the T-square just helps me do that. Then I'm bringing in my Doodlebug alphabets in red, because red just goes perfectly with green, and that's the only other colour really that I've got on this layout, so I'm going to spell out maintenance in these. Again, using my T-square just to check that it's all straight. And then some journaling at the bottom, just to say what James was up to. I love having these layouts of this sort of what we're up to now. Just an everyday photo, it's great. So now I decided I wanted to come in with my distress grid stamp from Hey Little Magpie. I really wish I'd done this before I started sticking everything down. I had to pull that photo back so that I could tuck it underneath. And then I'm just going to add it to the top here, and then the bottom left, just coming off the page again. And I really like the extra dimension that gives. So now back into these You Are My Sunshine stickers. There's this phrase, they're clear stickers with black writing on. They're teeny tiny, but they're really nice to add just little, I don't know, accents, I suppose, around the page. You could do this with stamps as well, but I just thought these stickers were so much fun. And even though it says You Are My Sunshine, there are so many phrases that you could use on any sort of layout. So I pulled out So This Happened, Capture Moments, Hanging Out, Blue Sky, Life is Simple, Happiness, Spontaneous. So like I say, loads of different words that you could use on a plethora of layouts really. So I'd highly recommend having a look at those, and they're very reasonable. I think they're $3.50, $3.99 a sheet, something like that, but there's absolutely loads on here. So nearly done with those. And then I've gone into my drawer to try and use up some of my older stash again. So this is Ellie Studio stamp stickers from quite a while ago. And I'm just pulling out again some of the phrases that work with this layout. So I've got clever, heart, smart, and the best at the top of the page there. And then there were some little hearts as well on there. So I'm just pulling out a red one to pop down there just to balance out the red from the title. And then I've got a black enamel dot, a heart that I'm adding to the bottom and also next to that word heart as well. And then these are matte enamel dots just from my stash again. We sell them at Hey Little Magpie. I'm not sure I've got any of the black left actually, but they are lovely. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope I provided some inspiration. I'll see you soon. Bye.